Asiya radiallahu anha. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best of women among the people of paradise are four basically. Khadija bint Khuwaylid, Fatima bint Muhammad, Maryam bint Imran, and Asiya bint Muzahim, the wife of Fir'aun. And Allah even mentions in the Quran, He mentions Allah presents an example of those who disbelieve, the wife of Nuh and the wife of Lot. They were under two of our righteous servants but betrayed them. So those prophets did not avail them from Allah at all. And it was said, enter fire of those whom you enter. So Allah also further starts to describe the example of Asiya as an example for the believers. So a little bit of background of Asiya. Asiya was, she was a very, very rich woman. She came from a very wealthy background, and she was in an arranged marriage with Fir'aun. And that was the custom of those days, to be in arranged marriages. And she was known for her generosity. She was entirely known for her generosity. And so here is Asiya. She's grown up her whole life being exposed to riches, nothing but royalty. And so the story of Asiya really begins with, it's embedded in the story of Musa alayhi salam. Now, the story of Musa alayhi salam is very, very large and can go into depth about it. But for the purpose of today's focus, we're not going to be going into we're not going to go too much into Musa alayhi salam's story, but rather we're going to focus on Asiya. But a little bit of background of when Asiya's story in the Quran begins. So Musa alayhi salam is being put in a basket by his mother and sister. And this basket lands in front of the house of Fir'aun. And Asiya instantly falls in love with Musa alayhi salam. Now the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam specifically once said, those souls are like an army joined in the world of spirits. Whichever souls knew each other in that world are attracted towards each other in this world. And whichever remain distant and indifferent there are disinterested to each other in this world. And this is recorded in Bukhari. So subhanAllah, we obviously know from this that what Asiya alayhi salam's soul and Musa alayhi salam's soul know each other and from the souls before. So when she saw Musa alayhi salam, she instantly gravitated towards him. Now, what's interesting here is that while Allah had, gave Musa alayhi salam's mother ease in telling her that He will protect Musa alayhi salam, while He put him in the basket, and then He also allowed Musa alayhi salam's mother to reunite with him, and as we all know, she was the nursing of him. But at the same time, He granted Asiya rahmah, because Asiya wasn't able to have kids. And Fir'aun had many wives besides Asiya, and he had children with all the other wives. But Asiya, she couldn't have any children. So subhanAllah, instantly we see that this one baby that comes to her, Allah had planned at the moment for Asiya to be there. And when Musa alayhi salam arrived, she saw him and she instantly fell in love with him. That motherhood in her, she felt it when she saw Musa alayhi salam. And Allah tells us in the Quran, and the wife of Pharaoh said, he will be a comfort of the eye for me and for you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son. Now, what's important to understand here is that when at this time, and a little bit, again, background of Musa alayhi salam's story, Fir'aun was told that someone would challenge him in terms of, because Fir'aun thought he was God, astaghfirullah, and so he was told that someone would challenge him from Bani Israel. So what happened? Every other year, he would kill the sons of Bani Israel. Now the year Musa alayhi salam was born was the year that Fir'aun was killing the baby boys of Bani Israel. So now, subhanAllah, again, this is from the hikmah, the wise plan from Allah, in that he protected Musa alayhi salam, and and then and brought him to the Fir'aun's palace. So when Fir'aun saw this baby boy, he's like, no, we gotta kill him. Asiyah, because she felt so much in love with him, she told him, he perhaps may be a comfort to my eye and for you. So do not kill him. Perhaps he may be benefit of us, and we may adopt him as a son. So thus, Musa alayhi salam became the adopted son of Fir'aun and Asiyah. And, he grew up in the palace. They nurtured him. And we're not told much about the exact details of how Musa alayhi salam's childhood in the palace was, except that when he starts to grow up and, starts to receive information in terms of prophethood. Now, when Musa alayhi salam gets older and starts preaching towards the people, to Allah, Asiyah immediately believes him and believes in Allah. She immediately submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that was the tawheed in her. And she started practicing the religion of Musa on a personal level. Now she knew the reason why she did this in secret was because she knew the atrocities Fir'aun was committing to those who followed Musa alayhi salam. Now by this time, Musa alayhi salam is not in the house of Fir'aun anymore, because, and again, this is going into the story of Musa alayhi salam, which I don't want to go into too much detail about, but Musa alayhi salam, basically, he's not there, and Fir'aun knows that he's the one who's challenging him. That now you have your own adopted son who went against you and said, no, you're not God. Allah is God, and he's the only one God. And so Asiyah knew if she had displayed her faith of Allah in Allah to Fir'aun, what he would do to her, because Fir'aun was torturing people, was raping women, all sorts of, subhanallah, atrocities, just because of their proclamation to Allah, to Tawheed. Now Asiyah was, Allah granted Asiyah the ability to see the deception of Fir'aun. Even before Musa alayhi salam started preaching, she knew Fir'aun wasn't all that. Why? Because, they say that the people who know you the most is your family. Why? Because they spend time with you the most, and so they know who you are. So Asiyah alayhi salam, Fir'aun is out here putting an image, and he's telling the whole world, okay, I am your Lord, this and that, and it's easy. You have a king on a throne, and he's, there's this image. But then Asiyah knew how he was really like, and he did not have good manners. He was very rude. He was very arrogant. We all know Fir'aun was the biggest tyrant in history, subhanAllah. And so Asiyah already knew, like, from the get-go, she knew this. She didn't fall for the deception of Fir'aun. She knew. She's like, no, you can't possibly be a lord. Why? Because you have faults of a regular human being, And so she was devoted and pious and obedient in her belief in Allah, in a household of someone who claimed to be God, subhanAllah. And so her bravery, her firm grip, and spirit brought her close to Allah, to know Allah, to stay close to Allah, and to really hold on to this tawheed. So when Musa alayhi salam started preaching, she knew automatically what Musa alayhi salam is preaching is the truth. Now, Asiyah kept her faith a secret up to a certain point. And this was the incident of the hairdresser, and what made Asiyah come out publicly to announce her faith to Allah. And this is the story of the hairdresser, also known as Al-Mashita. So Al-Mashita, basically, her story is not mentioned in the Quran. But when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was given the ability to go on the Isra wa Mi'raj trip to Al-Quds, Jerusalem, when Allah raised him to go into the different levels of Jannah. When he reached the seventh heaven, he smelt a beautiful scent. And there's a hadith reported by Bukhari, in which basically he reaches the fourth, and this is recorded by actually Ahmed Shakir from Ibn Abbasid, and the Prophet ﷺ says, when it was the night of my Isra, I sensed a beautiful sweet scent. So I said, Jibreel, what is this beautiful scent? And this is when he was in the seventh heaven. And Jibreel ﷺ told him, this is the scent of the woman who combed the hair of Fir'aun's daughter and her children. And then Muhammad ﷺ said, and what is her story? And then he related to her the story of the hairdresser, Al-Mashita. Now, what's the story of Al-Mashita? What's so special about this lady, the hairdresser, who was the lady who would comb the daughters of Fir'aun? What was so special about her that Allah honored her for her scent to literally linger in the seventh heaven? And this is why, this is the story of her. So one day, basically, she's combing the hair of one of Fir'aun's daughters. And, by this time, many people, Musa alayhi salam has been calling to many people. So some people in the palace, within the palace themselves, it wasn't only Asiyah who secretly proclaimed her faith to Allah and kept it as a secret. There's many other people in the palace who also believed in Allah. But again, they all kept the secret. Why? Because they knew Fir'aun, the biggest tyrant of all, if they knew, it was over for them. Now the lady was brushing the daughter of Fir'aun's hair, and she dropped the comb. So when she picked it up, she said, Bismillah. And the daughter heard her and she said, Bismillah? You mean like the name, like in the name of my father? And the hairdresser says, no, Bismillah, the name of Allah, who is the Lord of my Lord and the Lord of your father. So of course, this is the daughter of Fir'aun. What is she gonna do? She went to Fir'aun. She's like, Baba, like this lady literally just said she doesn't believe in you, that you're her Lord. And so the Fir'aun brings the hairdresser and basically like questions her, like, is it true that you have a Lord that is not me? She said yes, because her iman was so high. And so what happened was that the Fir'aun was like, all right, you know what, we're gonna punish you. So what he did is he brought all her children, and he brought all her children basically, and he brought all her children, and one by one he made a huge piling, a huge bowl, a huge pot basically of boiling oil, and one by one he put her children inside of the boiling pot. Now the thing is, we all know the love of a mother. We all know how much dear children are to a mother. And so imagine this mother, all of her children, one by one, she's watching them with her own eyes. Because Fir'aun knew what? He knew this lady would die without any hesitation for the sake of Allah. But he knew, how can he torture her the most? He knew that how strong a mother's love for a child was. He saw it with his own eyes, how Asiyah loved Musa alayhi salam. Now the thing is, when he's doing this to her, she's devastated. One by one, her children are going in, and she's trying to have sabr, so much sabr. She keeps declaring her faith to Allah, and she keeps like holding on to her faith to Allah. But then she had one more child left, and this was the youngest, and it was a baby. He was a baby, and Fir'aun, he tries to take this last baby and throw it. And like the last child of a mother is always also very special. That's the last child, and especially that was the baby, a baby, meaning she hasn't spent as much time with this baby, because he just came into this world not too long ago. And right at that moment, when it was so hard for her, when she was almost about to break, Allah places rahmah for her and declares her baby to speak. While a baby, just to strengthen her faith one last time so that she doesn't give in. And these are amongst the very few amount of babies who Allah had given the power to speak as a baby. And so this baby, and we know Isa alayhi salam was amongst one of them. As a baby, he spoke. Now, the baby of the al-Mashita, the baby basically said, "Mother, do not fear, for Allah is with you." And I'm paraphrasing this. And subhanAllah, Fir'aun then throws the baby in, and she's still firm. And then she tells Fir'aun, she says, I ask you for one request. And he's like, okay, sure, go for it. And she tells him, she's like, please gather my ashes and the children, and the ashes of my children together and bury us together. And he's like, all right. Fir'aun doesn't care. He's just satisfied that someone who proclaimed that there's another God beside him and one God, he doesn't care. He just cares that, that person is now in the fire. So he's like, okay, fine. So subhanAllah, this conviction, this firm belief in Allah, this devotion in the face, this was jihad. We learn about the stories of amazing people, the Sahaba and the Sahabiyat in Islam and throughout history, who in the face of oppression, they still say ahad. For example, the story of Sumayya, the first martyr in Islam, a woman. The story of Bilal, subhanAllah. And so this lady, al-Mashita, she had such iman for Allah and devotion for Allah that Allah honored her to the point that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam smelled this beautiful scent, and that was because that was coming from her and her children in the seventh heaven. Now this story was like the story of the town, especially within the palace, because now this was within the palace. And Asiya alayhi salam heard about it, and she was so moved by the story and by the bravery of this hairdresser that Asiya alayhi salam was like, if this lady had the bravery and the courage to face Fir'aun and tell him she didn't believe in him, then what's stopping me? And why did Asiya think that? Because she favored the hereafter more than this world. Asiya, her whole life grew up in riches and a luxurious life. But she knew the real luxury was the luxury of the hereafter. And so she decided to come to Fir'aun and proclaim her faith to Allah. Now, obviously, when she came to Fir'aun, he took her to the desert. He starved her. He stripped her. He tried many ways to degrade her. But basically she was firm in her belief. And he would beat Asiya, but she was patient. He would harm her, but she endured. He tortured her, but she was steadfast. And she still believed in Allah, Lord of Musa and Harun. And so, subhanAllah, she lived a life in a house filled with kufr, with shirk. And yet, she was strong in her belief. And so what happened was that all these ways Fir'aun was trying to degrade her did not work. To the point that all the daughters, it's not like he went with her privately in the desert and tortured her. No. Fir'aun was like, this is going to be a show. Everyone grab your popcorn. Come watch. Also, he wanted to frighten the people. He wanted to show them no matter who you are, if you go against me, you will be tortured. You will be humiliated. But what he didn't realize was Allah's power on his hold of Asiya's faith. The dua, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. When Allah keeps your heart steadfast, none can change you. And Allah countless of times says in the Quran, يهدي من يشاء وإلى صراط مستقيم. Allah guides whom He wills to the straight path. And so what happens was that now Asiyah is she's enduring all this pain. She's enduring all of this, and then Fir'aun is just even more angry. And while he's torturing her, she makes a dua to Allah. And Allah records this in the Quran. Allah records this in the Quran where He says, and Allah presents an example of those who believe. The wife of Pharaoh, when she said, my Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise and save me from Fir'aun and his deeds and save me from the wrongdoing people. So while she's being tortured, subhanAllah, Asiyah takes the time because she knew that the riches of the hereafter, she knew what she wanted, and that was, she wanted the true happiness. And what was that? That was the true happiness, was that of the hereafter, was the reward of the hereafter. And so she made this dua at a time of oppression. She did what all the Anbiya and those righteous do when they're in times of affliction. They have what? Sabr, and then they call upon Allah. So she makes this dua, and then Allah shows her her house in paradise. Now when she sees her house in Jannah, now she's happy because she's like, that's it. Like, what's the point of me suffering in this world? I'm gonna get that in Jannah. And subhanAllah, we can't imagine Jannah. There's we can picture Jannah, okay, there's pearls, lofty houses, this and that. But really, no human being can exactly say, this is how Jannah looks. Why? Because Allah granted this, like Allah didn't grant us that ability to see it. But Allah showed her Jannah right at that moment while she was in this dunya. And this caused her to laugh. Now, obviously, no one knows what's going on because only Allah only allowed for her to see all of this. So then Fir'aun is like, look at this mad woman. She's being tortured and she's laughing. She's crazy. You see, everyone? She's not only rebelled against me, but she's crazy. And so people are now even more like looking at Asiyah as if she's a mad woman. And but what the thing about Fir'aun was that him seeing her, the satisfaction, him not getting his satisfaction of seeing her being suffered, angered him. So what he did was he was like, okay, time to pull out the last trick of the book. And he basically tied her to a rock, and then with a bulldozer, basically the bulldozer flew her off a cliff and crushed her body. But obviously Allah doesn't give victory to the oppressors. And so Allah took Asiyah's ruh. He took her soul all out from her body before Fir'aun had that chance for the bulldozer to crush her. So in the eyes of people, the bulldozer crushed the body of Asiyah off the cliff, but her soul wasn't, because Allah had extracted her soul from her body before that. Subhanallah. Now, what are some... Okay, so the story of Asiyah, we can see why Allah, Allah told His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she is one of the 4 leading women of Jannah. Why? Because she was married to the biggest tyrant in history. Yet she was one of the best of believers. And what are some lessons we can learn and take from the life of Asiyah radiallahu anha? That she was patient. Allah tells us countless times in the Quran that He is with the patient. Wallahu ma'as sabirin. And so she was steadfast, and she still believed in the Lord of Musa. She believed in Allah, basically, despite Fir'aun's torturings. And so we know from this that Asiyah alayhi salam, her tawheed was firm. She really believed it. She didn't just practice and say in her mouth, yeah, I believe in Allah. She believed it in her heart. And that's something that we should all take away. That true piety is within the heart. Our oneness, our belief in the oneness of Allah. And she also had the love of the hereafter, subhanAllah. That is why, despite anything she was going on in the dunya, she sacrificed a life of comfort in this world. A life of comfort, a life of ease. She sacrificed all of that. Why? For the hereafter. She knew that this world was temporary. And that's something that we should all take away from this. Because, subhanAllah, this death will come upon every person. And so it's important and crucial for all of us to take into consideration, what are we doing to prepare for our akhirah? What are we doing to meet our Lord? When Asiyah was dying, she looked up in the heaven and she said, Ya Allah. She basically told Allah she was ready to go. She met Allah in a beautiful state. What? Her in the jihad, basically. And so what are we doing to prepare our meeting for our Lord? How do we want ourselves to be? What state do we want ourselves to be when Allah decides to take our ruh away from us? And so it's very important, especially during this time of Ramadan. There's this month of rahmah, where Allah literally says the gates of Jannah is closed and the gates of paradise is open. And each night of Ramadan, Allah frees people from the hellfire and makes them from the people of Jannah. So let's ask Allah to make us from the people. May Allah make us from the people of Jannah. And may He allow us at the time that He decides to take us away from this world to be the best time that He's the most pleased with us. And another lesson we can learn from Asiyah is patience. Patience. This world is not easy at all. And Allah tells us in many places of the Quran, He tells us that He's going to test us with suffering, with hunger, with all of these things basically. With loss of hunger, loss of... In Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 155, He tells us literally, He will test us of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives, and fruits. But glad tidings to the what? As-sabirin, the patient. And that is what Asiyah had. Allah tested her the loss of wealth and lives, her life. Yet she was patient. And so Allah gave her that glad tidings. He told her, I see the patience that you have. Look at right there, that's your house in Jannah. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to be granted that. This, for Allah's not going to show us like right now, like, hey, that's your house in Jannah. Allahu alam, Allahu musta'an. But it's that this is what ihsan is. Worshiping Allah, your belief in Allah as if you can see Him, as if you can hear Him, as if you're conscious, taqwa, that Allah is watching you. And so when we hope for the hereafter, when we picture what we would like for the hereafter, the beautifulness of the hereafter, it motivates us in anything that we go through in this life. It's definitely not easy. But when you have sabr, for sure Allah tells us that He will give us a bit better reward. And another lesson that we can get from Asiyah is living in a world of consumption. We live constantly in a world where, the consumer, and it's all about material. We live in a materialistic world where it's all about consumption. Asiyah didn't care about the riches of this world. Again, tying her love to the hereafter. And last but not least, another thing we could take away from Asiyah is her love of Allah. And how this love, if you love Allah, Allah will love you, will know you, and will love you. And this is what Asiyah had did. She remembered Allah constantly. Allah tells us in the Quran, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرُكُمْ. Remember me, and I will remember you. SubhanAllah, Allah tells us stories of many people of the past. So that what? So that we may take it as an example and implement it in our life. How many times in this day and age do we see oppression happening. SubhanAllah, in our own ummah. Our own ummah, may Allah have mercy and grant ease to our brothers and our sisters around the world who are suffering. And all of these stories is for us to reflect upon and to use this, to implement this in our life. Like all of these lessons here is not restricted to Asiyah's time or that time before. No, it's a big lesson for us to even know. And here's a story of Asiyah who loved Allah, and Allah knew her and Allah honored her. And Allah is also telling us throughout the Quran in so many different ayat, especially this ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah where he says, remember me and I will remember you. So subhanAllah, may Allah make us all amongst the sabirin. May He bless us. May He unite us amongst the people of Jannah. May He mix us the Ahlul Jannah, the people of Jannah, and unite us, allow us to meet these amazing people in Jannah. People like Asiyah, our people like Maryam alayhi salam, who we will learn about next week. Khadija radiallahu anha, Fatima, Aisha, all these Sahaba, Ali, Abu Bakr, Uthman, Umar, all of these people in Islam. And most of all, may the first person who greet us be Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So inshallah, this is all that I have for today. Jazakumullah khair. I hope that this was of benefit to anyone. And whatever good I have said is from Allah and His Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And whatever I said that was wrong is from my own nafs. And I ask that Allah bestows mercy upon all of us, accept from us, grants us beneficial knowledge. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala. May Allah grant us beneficial knowledge, good rizq. Rizq is anything in our life, and deeds that will be good deeds that will be accepted. So alhamdulillah, barakallahu feekum, but we still have some minutes left. So inshallah, if anybody wants to share anything, feel free to do so. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the knocking. I have a 3-year-old brother, and he's very he was trying to distract, and so I closed the door and he was knocking. So I apologize for that, guys. But may Allah bless him. But yeah, so I want to, you guys can also, whoever wants to share, you can feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share something. But want to ask you all, I want to ask you all, like, what are some of the lessons and the moments of Asiyah's story that stands out to you all? So inshallah, we can open this as a open discussion right now, but it's up to you guys, inshallah. All right, so again, as if no one is willing to share anything else, inshallah, then we'll conclude here. Let me see if I can. This was very beautiful. Thank you. Oh, no problem. Yeah, I hope inshallah you benefit.
I actually have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much. This was very beautifully described. I guess one part that I'm trying to understand is how you mentioned at the end of the story that Asiyah's ruh was extracted. And I'm thinking, like, how would someone, like, let's say, I guess because I'm a believer, I understand and accept that, but if someone were not a believer, how would they, I don't know, like how does one know that her ruh was extracted? Because from what the people saw, right, her body was crushed. So then wouldn't they think that, their own was very unjust towards her? So how did the people at that time, like, how did they know that actually what happened was just and that she wasn't hurt at all? I think that's the part where I'm trying to understand.
Okay. So I'm not really sure completely into depth of exactly how the people thought that what happened to her was just. But what we do know is that the people that Pharaoh basically brought together was people that were supporting him, and it was people basically of the palace, because the people that were believers and they knew Asiyah was indeed a true believer and was indeed like being tortured by Pharaoh. Obviously they couldn't do anything. They were helpless at that point, but for the people that did support Pharaoh, they were just mocking her at the same time. And so to the people's eyes, they were like, okay, alhamdulillah, she's destroyed. But then the people who believed and was watching that, if anything, they were admired by her bravery and her conviction to Allah. Because while Pharaoh is torturing her, before she laughs, because Allah showed her Jannah, her house in Jannah, she's like still proclaiming her love to Allah. She's like, I believe in Allah. You are not my Lord. My Lord is Allah. Allahu Rabbi. So I hope like that answered. I don't know if that answered your question, but in terms of like exactly what the people, what the like Jama'ah had reacted towards, I'm not really sure about that.
Thank you. That was helpful. Thank you so much.
Of course. Anyone else want to share anything? If not, inshallah, we'll then end the session. We have like 10 more extra minutes, so in case anybody else wants to share anything.
The recording has stopped.
Hello? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I want to thank you so much. I had planned and registered for this yesterday, and it just dawned on me about 15 minutes ago. I was busy in the house, and so I got on late, but the part that I did hear was alhamdulillah. Will you be on each Sunday doing a sister each time? Like, I'm assuming today you just centered on Asiyah.
Mm-hmm.
So is that how this will go? You'll do another one next Sunday, or?
So, Jazakallah khair for your question, and thank you for bringing this up, because then we can address like the large ground rules of how the rest of the series will follow. So, inshallah, next Sunday will be the story about Maryam alayhi salam, and it will be given by a sister named Maryam, who's who's on the MSA board. So I won't be given the other stories. Inshallah, I will be participating and joining. But I won't. I only gave the story of Asiyah today. So inshallah, next week someone else will give the story of Maryam alayhi salam. Then after that week, the next Sunday will be about the story of Khadija radiallahu anha, and then after that the story of Fatima radiallahu anha.
Alhamdulillah. Shukran. I really appreciate this.
Of course.
Alaikum.
Alaikum salam. So Jazakumullah khair again to everyone for attending. May Allah bless all of us. May Allah make this Ramadan a Ramadan where we truly connect with our Lord, where we truly establish that tawheed within us, the sincerity such as the sincerity Asiyah radiallahu anha had. May He allow us to be amongst the people whom He loved. May we have His love and the love of those whom He loved, and the love to do the deeds which that brings us closer to His love. May Allah accept from us all. May Allah allow this Ramadan to be a transforming Ramadan, a Ramadan that will be impactful for us all, and it means to get closer to Allah. May He make us amongst the Salihin, the righteous, the Sabirin, the patients, the Muttaqeen, the people with taqwa, the God-conscious people, the At-Tawwabin, those who repent, the Sadiqeen, the truthful ones, and the Muhsineen, the doers of good. And so I ask Allah to bless you all and your families, to keep you all healthy. May Allah have mercy on those who have passed among us during this time, and write their names amongst the shaheed. May He grant shifa to all those who are sick, and may He allow us to do the best we can during this Ramadan and make the most of it. Again, Jazakumullah khair for attending. Inshallah, hope to see you all next week and the following weeks of the next few series. You guys definitely don't want to miss out, and please do share to everyone you know about the stories, about this programming, as we will be talking about Maryam, Khadija, Fatima, alhamdulillah, women. And these women are the leaders. They're the leaders of Jannah for a reason. And so, subhanAllah, there's so much we can take from their stories. Again, barakallahu feekum. Subhanaka rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala al-muslimin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.